Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Oscar De La Hoya. And I've noticed in like the last couple of times where he was promoting a fight, I noticed when he was talking to the fighters, right, he was making the look, had this expression on his face, like in that top photo to the right, like this, like he's possessed or something. And I remember thinking, why does he keep making them crazy expressions, man? You know, like, what's up with his nonverbals? Didn't make sense to me. Now, I don't claim to be smarter than a fifth grader, but I'm a common sense man, right? When I watched De La Hoya, his antics since coming out of, rehab and stuff like that, and now he has this new girl in his life, and she's doing a lot of talking for him, which is, a little bewildering to me, because why is she talking about Golden Boy? Why is she even talking? I did another video about that. Like, I just don't get it. It's like she has this man possessed or something, man. Or there may be another word for what she has, what she's done to him. But the fact that she's in the mix, she's talking a lot about his personal business, talking about his professional business. Those are bad signs to me, okay? Now, that's his business. That's his personal life. But she's bringing things to the public, okay? So she happened to be, they happened to be interviewing Oscar, and she chirps up. We listen. And that's how I really started paying her attention, because I never even noticed her really. Till she was talking, I was like, who is this? And I'm like, okay, that's the chick who's always with him everywhere. Because, I didn't even know that he had divorced and all that. So I'm like, okay, that's his new little thing, you know what I mean? Something soft, keeping him warm at night. But it makes you wonder, man, like with De La Hoya, what's going on with him, because, he was on that stuff for a while. And he said the most difficult fight that he ever had was with drugs, okay? And he did an interview where he kind of went in depth and talked about what caused him to get involved with drugs, the different things that happened was during his career, after his career, starting a promotional company. And it seemed like some of those things that kind of ended him up in a situation where he found himself, being, engaging in, drugs. Like some of those things are still around him right now, okay? And I wouldn't be surprised if we found out that he was on drugs again, or he had to go through rehab. I don't wish that on him. I did another video where I talked about, I think De La Hoya is still grieving the loss of his mom, man. And you never get over that. So I'm not even gonna try to make fun of De La Hoya. What I'm saying is, he hasn't quite gotten, and he never will, but he's a struggle. Could you imagine? I did another video and talked about some of this, so I'm not gonna get into all that. Could you imagine being in the Olympics and your number one fan is you happen to be your parent, your mother, and then she passes away, and then you still go on to win the gold, come back, have a successful boxing career. Every time this man got into that ring to fight, from when he was a little kid, he could hear his mom screaming, cheering him on. Every time he got in that ring, you don't think that didn't bother him? You know what I'm saying? We don't know what's going on inside a person's head. But one thing we know is a person can't leave their mind behind. So all these years of all these great things in boxing, and not having that support, that voice, that person there, but having his dad there who was more iron-fisted and would never tell him good job. I think it wasn't until after the Tito Trinidad fight where he said he fought beautifully or something like that. Well, he finally gave him a little nod like, all right, that was good. So then you look at being married, ups and downs, having kids out of wedlock and everything else. And everybody has him as the golden boy, this image of someone who's perfect and like almost like the man doesn't even fart, you know what I'm saying? And he knows deep inside he's not that golden boy. So the pressure, man, the world starts to come down on you, and that's where some people make bad decisions. But it goes back to what I was saying, that he was involved in the twilight of his career when it comes to drug addiction and just other excesses. So Such was his addiction to alcohol and cocaine that even De La Hoya had suicidal thoughts before he entered a clinic for recovery treatment, man. And his wife at the time was the one who was kind of trying to motivate him to go out there and get himself together, because they were sitting down and he was so intoxicated that it's like the wife was fed up, and he was even asking himself, is it even worth living? Okay? Because he was so tired. He was so tired. And he said that throughout his life, he had to face different, giants. But the hardest so far was the drug addiction. And that could have left him without his promotional business. Now, he doesn't say at all anything about his mom. And I don't think he'll ever talk about that. But I personally, I'm just telling you from experience, man, that's rough, man. When you lose the number one person, man, who, no matter how bad your day is going, once you hear that voice, everything gets better. Or no matter what you're talking about, ranting and raving about, they just sit there quiet and let you talk. And then you get all out your system and be like, you feel better? When you have that person in your life and then that's gone, it's rough. Rough, boy. So when it comes to De La Hoya, I'm not saying I understand everything he's going through, but I have a little bit of an idea. And I think any of you who've gone through something like that, you can kind of have an idea. Didn't push me the direction he went, but I have nowhere near the stresses like this man had in his life. But I understand that some of the things I'm going to tell you about. So he says he started hanging out with bad people. That's where he found drugs. His life was already going downhill. After getting involved with drugs, it cost him a lot of his time, and he regrets that. He said when he retired, he felt something left him, left his soul. He said he doesn't know, he always felt empty. He said boxing was his love, and he didn't have boxing, so he felt like he didn't have anything. That's because, you have everyone who's treating you a kind of way, responding to you a kind of way. These, thousands and thousands of people coming out, and these crowds, man, to support you, And once you retire, man, someone else comes and fills your shoes. That prestige and all that's gone. And you sit back and watch other guys, and you're like, man, I can still do that, And I think that's what it was. It's the whole prestige and all that was out of here. So along with the grief and being lonely and empty, right? Hey, man, things start closing up on you real quick, man. And it's rough. But he goes into something, right? And he talks about it. And this is something, so the loneliness, emptiness, right? That still bothered him, because that's why he's talked about having a comeback. As soon as Oscar talks about having a comeback, what does everybody do? Go berserk. They want to see him in the ring. So he misses that till this day. So there's still a loneliness and emptiness in him. He's had kids with several women. He's not with those women. So I don't know how often he sees these kids. That's another set of loneliness, right? So it's still there. But there's something that almost happened with De La Hoya. I didn't know this, and I'm going to assume it to be true because nobody came out to say different. De La Hoya almost lost Golden Boy Promotions, okay? So he had over 20 years of experience in lawsuits. But De La Hoya founded Golden Boy Promotions in 2002. That's 8 years before he retired from boxing. Now, Richard Schaefer was his partner. A lot of you guys should know who Richard Schaefer is. Apparently, he tried to take the company away from him for very little money. Now, this is what's so crazy, right? Oscar De La Hoya says that his wife made him see the reason to enter rehab, right? I said that already. He said he spent a day in that place. And after the effects of the drugs that he was prescribed that had him heavily doped, Schaefer visited him with some documents that he wanted to be signed. Okay, so De La Hoya's in rehab. He's doped up on these drugs. Schaefer visits him, is like, sign this. Now, De La Hoya is saying he's heavily doped up. He says Schaefer told him that boxing was not his thing, that he should think about his family and leave it. that there was a buyer for the company for $100 million. Now we know right now De La Hoya is saying somebody want to buy it for. He has $1 billion company, right? Don't know about that. But at that time, De La Hoya says he was almost dead. He was like a zombie from the medication. He said he couldn't think straight. And he said he trusted Schaefer, but he also felt like Schaefer was pressuring him to sign. And he said and he was going to do it. But he said when he was ready to sign, he stopped and told his partner that he wanted those papers to be reviewed by his legal team, to which the latter did not react in the best way. So Schaefer wasn't going for that. Schaefer was obviously pissed off that De La Hoya wanted his legal team to review it. So after his lawyers reviewed those documents, they told him that he was only going to receive $3 million from the sale of his company. And De La Hoya considered that an insult. Could you imagine if Schaefer would have got Golden Boy promotion for $3 million? It's crazy. He lied and said $100 million, but it was really for $3 million. So finally, the relationship broke down, and Schaefer left Golden Boy Promotion in 2014 with several of the boxing talents that were in the promotion. Now, remember when he left, he took a lot of big names, a lot of big names. So that is what, according to De La Hoya, caused some of the problems. Now with him and Schaefer, but we do know that De La Hoya was on drugs, a lot of alcohol, and a lot of the time, he was nowhere near the whole Golden Boy Promotions. He was there doing his own thing, and he had these other people running the company and working. So I can understand why Schaefer kind of put that pressure on him to sign and to try to pull one on him and take over Golden Boy Promotions. So Oscar kind of, you understand the situation, you understand how he ended up in that predicament with drugs and alcohol and Schaefer trying to take Golden Boy from him. Doesn't mean we agree, but now you understand. This man, to this day, you look at what he's got going on. Mom's still not there, no wife, kids aren't around, okay? He has this girl in his life. I don't know what her role is or what the hell's going on there, but she talks too much, in my opinion. He lost Canelo, right? Ryan Garcia's on the verge of being, a breakout, like, big-time superstar. He's already there. He's already, a star, but he's on the verge of really becoming a huge pay-per-view attraction if he can keep winning and winning in dramatic fashion. But he needs to clip some big names. If Ryan can do that, Ryan may be on his way. But right now, De La Hoya doesn't have that. He's trying to get that with Ryan, but he's ruined so many relationships with the likes of Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn has said things too about, taking pokes at De La Hoya about drugs. Dana White's taking pokes at De La Hoya about drugs. Him and De La Hoya and Floyd Mayweather have gone back and forth. Then there's Richard Schaefer, with the back and forth, and Al Heyman, and even Bob Arum. So De La Hoya has been, kind of at war with all these promoters. Now if for some reason, what's his name? Ryan Garcia, for some reason doesn't get to where we think he can reach, as far as being that next huge pay-per-view star, Golden Boy Promotions is in bad shape, man. They are. So De La Hoya knows this. And I believe that when he's there at night trying to rest and sleep, that his mind is just going a million miles an hour. Because he almost lost Golden Boy to Richard Schaefer for pulling a fast one, but now he's about to lose him because he doesn't have the talent to bring in the kind of money he needs. If you look at the fight card from this weekend, this is what's so crazy about it. Ryan Garcia made $2 million. Javier Fortuna, you know how much they paid him? $100,000. $100,000, man. It's like 5% or something of what Ryan Garcia made. That is crazy. And we sitting here talking about Earl Spence and Terrence Crawford and the damn split. 5%. Now, some of you can say, well, Javier Fortuna is washed up. He's a bum. He just took a payday. What payday? To me, Javier Fortuna should have made more money, in my opinion, because he was probably the biggest name, biggest threat, next to Luke Campbell, but the biggest name, biggest threat for Ryan Garcia, and this was the name that was really going to get him back to where he was timeline-wise before he had the mental health issues. So at least compensate Javier Fortuna for springboarding you to a whole nother platform as far as where he rack and stacks in the 135, 140 pound division. But he didn't get that. Some of the other guys in the card, like Alexis Rocha, I think Lamont Roach made 100,000. Alexis Rocha may have made 75,000, and some of the other guys made 10, 12,000. UFC type fight persons. But De La Hoya, he's gonna have to figure some things out. But I'm telling you, man, that stuff that caused him all the problems earlier in the 2000s, that drove him to drugs and everything like that. Let me tell you, it's people and stressors. And he still has those stresses. And I'm not so sure about the people he has around him, man. I'm telling you. And when you look at him making these crazy ass faces, no one makes faces like that. And he's always squeezing everybody's shoulders and tapping them on the back. Watch how he approaches, what's his name? Bernard Hopkins. He comes up and gives him this weird hug, squeeze on the shoulders and taps him on the back. And, you know, he comes here, man, and unrestricts his eyes as wide as he can and grins his teeth and shit like, man, that shit's not normal. So I'm going to leave it as that, man. I just want to bring it to y'all attention. And I'm not poking fun at it. What I'm telling you is, it may need to say a little prayer for De La Hoya because he just can't shake he can't shake those demons, man. This man has a lot going on. Man. You know, man, part of me feels bad for him. Because, you know, who can he trust? Who can he turn to? What can he really do? Because at the end of the day, the one person, man, that made everything better for De La Hoya is not coming back. And it's very, very unfortunate. But that's life, man. You know, life happens. Life ain't easy, man. When you lose those loved ones, it is difficult. But I watch him, and I think we're just going to keep seeing him on this roller coaster. I don't know what's going to happen. I hope he's not on this stuff anymore. But these antics, man, that's just not normal, man. At least I've been around for a while, man. I've been around a lot of people, man. And, you know, some things just stand out. And erratic behavior and stuff like that. Like, that's cause for concern, man. But I hope De La Hoya is all right. But that's the story. And we're going to see what happens, you know, in the future with De La Hoya and this boxing and his own. Eddie Hearn's the next one. Got to watch him too, man. He's got some serious stresses in his life. So he's already started showing a bit of erratic behavior. Start paying attention, man. But, hey, man, I'll be honest. I don't even have any jokes, man. I wish De La Hoya the best. I hope he gets better. But that being said, but if Ryan Garcia, if he's going to push Ryan Garcia to get in there with Tank Davis, he better fix that footwork, tuck that chin, and make sure Ryan Garcia has the discipline to try to fight long and stay disciplined, because as soon as he makes a mistake, Tank's going to get him out of there, man, with the one-hitter quitter. It's going to be death, not even like Pacquiao. Pacquiao kills you death by 1,000 left hands. Tank hits you, you know, death by one left hand. And that's all it's going to take. So that being said, thanks for the support. Y'all keep safe. Shout out to all the veterans, and I'm in the breeze.